to get started in about 5 minutes. You don't have to be like church. The best seats are down in front, you know what I mean? So feel free, the board will be down here just to recognize and acknowledge you. We'll give it 5 minutes just to make sure that everybody who needs to get here, we sure appreciate you being here tonight. We'll kick off then. So thanks so much. Hey, good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Bob McBride. I'm the superintendent of Lockport Township High School. Very pleased and proud by that. And it is a little hard to believe that we actually only have 9 days of school left. You could even subtract that out if you count our 3 days of final exams, May 25th, 26th, and 27th. So we are coming to the end. And it feels like we're in the Golden Globes, the Oscars, the Emmys, season where we're doing so many recognitions. And I'm really thrilled that all of you are here tonight because I've always felt that when people in a community do great things, it's important for the community to come together and say, you did a great thing. And it's really amazing tonight. We'd ask everybody just to stay throughout the entire recognition. What we'll do is we're going to recognize folks who are Eagle Scouts, folks who have gone out and represented our community and our school well in very tough competitions in the state of Illinois. We'll wrap up recognizing people who have devoted their professional career to this place, people who are going to be retiring and we're sad to see go. So it's just fitting that we gather, that the Board of Education, the people that are elected to represent our school district are here to really say, we want to honor you. So thanks for letting us do that. When we honor everybody, we are counting on folks to gather back there for a little mixing and mingling. Got some cookies, some water, just to send you off to a brilliant and beautiful night. Can we just put our hands together for Mother Nature? We deserve this, right? We deserve this. And could you all stand with me? The flag is right over. Can we call to order and just say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over now to our board president, Mrs. Ann Lopez-Caniva, and she's going to take it away from there.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. McBride, and welcome. All right. I just need to make a motion here to reconvene the regular board meeting. All right, it's been motioned by Ms. Johnson and second by Dr. Shaw. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So the regular session has been reconvened. And now I'm going to pass this over to our principal, Dr. John Greenham. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is John Greenham, East Campus Principal. We have several student recognitions this evening, the first of which we are going to recognize 3 students who have earned Eagle Scout distinction. We have 3 different students, as I mentioned, and we're going to announce them individually. I will go by alphabetical order. Would Thomas Lurkowitz please come up to the front? Whereas Thomas Lurkowitz, a senior student at Lockport Township High School, District 205, has achieved Eagle Scout status, the highest rank awarded by the Boy Scouts of America, for his project of updating the fire pit area at the Shady Oaks Camp in Homer Glen, a camp for children and adults with disabilities. And whereas Thomas Lurkowitz has brought honor and distinction to himself, his family, school, community, Troop Number 63, and Scoutmaster Michael Soderstrom. And now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of Lockport Township High School, District 205, Will County, Illinois, that Thomas Lurkowitz is hereby recognized for achieving the prestigious rank of Eagle Scout from the Boy Scouts of America on the 16th day of May, 2022. Congratulations, Thomas. Would Matthew Martinez please come to the front? Whereas Matthew Martinez, a senior student at Lockport Township High School, District 205, has achieved Eagle Scout status, the highest rank awarded by the Boy Scouts of America, for his project of volunteering his time at the micro pantry for St. John's Church in Lockport, a place where neighbors help neighbors by taking what they need and leaving what they can. And whereas Matthew Martinez has brought honor and distinction to himself, his family, school, community, Troop Number 63, and Scoutmasters Michael Soderstrom and Jim Zacharias. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of Lockport Township High School, District 205, Will County, Illinois, that Matthew Martinez is hereby recognized for achieving the prestigious rank of Eagle Scout from the Boy Scouts of America on the 16th day of May 2022. Congratulations, Matthew. Will Nathan Ribicki please come to the front? Whereas Nathan Ribicki, a senior student at Lockport Township High School, District 205, has achieved Eagle Scout status, the highest rank awarded by the Boy Scouts of America, for his project of building a puppet theater for his church, Our Lady of Mount Carmel in Darien. And whereas Nathan Ribicki has brought honor and distinction to himself, his family, school, community, Troop Number 63, and Scoutmaster Michael Soderstrom. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Education of Lockport Township High School, District 205, Will County, Illinois, that Nathan Ribicki is hereby recognized for achieving the prestigious rank of Eagle Scout from the Boy Scouts of America on the 16th day of May 2022. Congratulations, Nathan. Congrats again. Well done. For Matthew? So I also want to clarify for Matthew, he not only designed, but he built it as well. Thank you for clarifying, Mom. Thank you. At this time, I'm going to introduce our activities director, Mr. Brian Lessner, as we have student recognitions for our Porter Culinary Arts team and Skills USA students.
Thank you, Dr. Green, and good evening, everyone. At this time, I would like to have all the Porter Culinary Arts students and their teachers up in front, please. Resolution recognizing the accomplishments of the Lockport Township High School Culinary Arts students. Whereas Lockport Township High School students were selected to compete in the Future Career and Community Leaders of American State competition. Whereas Leah Panozzo earned a silver medal for pastry arts, fondant cake decorating, and Caitlin Servin earned a silver medal for culinary arts salad demonstration. At the FCCLA state competition that was held on April 8th, 2022 in Springfield, Illinois. Whereas the students have brought honor and distinction to themselves, their family, school, and community by achieving this respected status. Now therefore be resolved by the Board of Education of Lockport Township High School, District 205, Will County, Illinois, that this resolution was adopted on this 16th day of May, 2022. Congratulations. At this time, I'd like to invite members of the Skills USA team and their teachers up to the front, please. Resolution recognizing the accomplishments of Lockport Township High School Skills USA team. First place, State Power Equipment Technology, Brent Powler. Second place, State Automotive Service Technology, Riley DeVita. Second place, State Teamworks, Jake Haas, Trevor Dooley, David Pelka, John Camper. Second place, State 3D Animation, Vanessa Quayler, Layla Bergbauer. Third place, State Power Equipment Technology, Devin Gallagher. Whereas Lockport Township High School students were selected to compete in the Skills USA Illinois State Leadership and Skills Conference. Whereas the competition was held on April 30th at Peoria, Illinois. Whereas the students have brought honor and distinction to themselves, their family, school, and community by achieving this respected status. Now therefore be resolved by the Board of Education of Lockport Township High School, District 205, Will County, Illinois, that this resolution was adopted on this 16th day of May, 2022. Congratulations. At this time, I'd like to turn it back over to our principal, Dr. Greenan.
Our next student recognition is for our students who competed and placed either first, second, or third at the Illinois Design Educators Association state competition. Will any of those students please come to the front with teachers as well? So before I begin, I just want to let the students know and their families that on the resolution, all of them say architecture design team. We had other students who competed in place in 3D CAD modeling, in machine CAD, in introductory CAD, and machine CAD as well. So we will make the correction to those resolutions and make sure we get them, but I just wanted to let you know ahead of time, okay? So we apologize for that error. So at this time, I would like to announce a resolution that is recognizing students who competed in the Illinois Design Educators Association state competition. In third place in machine CAD was Shane Nolan. Third place in introductory CAD was Peyton Norton. Third place in architecture 3D was Anthony Ficek and Brej Gutierrez. Second place in machine CAD, Nicholas Costello. Second place in 3D CAD modeling, Joshua Antonio. And our first place state champion architecture design team of Bilal Yusini, who is a two-time state champion, Robert Carbars, and Chloe Berry. Yes, round of applause, please. Whereas Lockport Township High School students were selected to compete in the Illinois Design Educators Association state competition, whereas the competition was held on April 23rd, 2022 at Illinois State University in Normal, Illinois. Whereas the students have brought honor and distinction to themselves, their family, school, and community by achieving these respected status, and also a special mention to teacher Jeff Brown. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of Lockport Township High School, District 205, Will County, Illinois, that this resolution was adopted on the 16th day of May, 2022. Congratulations. At this time, I would like to introduce our Assistant Superintendent for Personnel, Mr. Tony Gandari.
Thank you, Dr. Greenan. Good evening. As Dr. Greenan just said, my name is Tony Kandari. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Personnel here in Lockport. Just finishing up my 10th year, and each year my favorite board meeting, I know that sounds kind of funny, but my favorite board meeting is the May board meeting, because I do get to come up and recognize staff members who will be leaving us after spending a long, wonderful career here at Lockport. This year we have 14 retirees. 3 office professionals retired. We'll have 4 total paraprofessionals who've retired, 1 bus driver, and 6 teachers. Very large class of retirees. Of the teachers who will be retiring, again, there are 6 of them. Collectively, those 6 teachers, okay, think about this, have spent 152 years here at Lockport, okay? They've put just about their entire career, some of them their entire careers here at Lockport Township High School. So a few of the retirees could not be here tonight, but I did want to recognize them because they may be some of your teachers. Pam Hofling is an English teacher, and she's been here in the district for 22 years. Susie Alexa, she's one of our math teachers here. She has spent her entire career except for 1 year, so 34 years here at Lockport Township High School. And Joe Williams, biology teacher over at Central Campus, has spent his entire 33-year career here at Lockport. So let's hear it for those teachers who have put long, good careers in. So here with us tonight, first of all, I'd like to call them up one at a time. First is Mr. Tom Krasowski. Tom, come on up. Tom has been here at Lockport. He's been an activities director. He's been an assistant principal. He's been a dean. He doesn't only talk the talk, but he walks the walk. He also is the proud father of 3 graduates from here at Lockport as well. So he's worked here, and he's had his children go through here. And this year, despite him thinking, hey, I'm retiring, I've got it easy. I've got it easy coming up. He doesn't. He's got a busy year coming up. His son, I believe, is getting married in June in Colorado, so he'll be heading that way. And then your daughter is also getting married, I believe, in October. So there's 2. And then his other daughter, who's been working very hard, I believe, is going to be a CPA. Yeah. So congratulations on that. Somewhere during all his free time, I guess, his busy time, he's going to do a lot of golfing. That's what he's hoping to do. That's what I assume. Not well, but... I personally have worked with Tom on several projects over the years, and I am very grateful to have had the honor of working with him. Can we please have one huge round of applause for Mr. Krasowski? Tom, who's here with you? You want to introduce who's here with you?
What's that?
Who's here with you?
Well, my 2 daughters, Sarah and Jenna, are here. And Jenna's fiance, Jim, is here as well. And then my friend Vivian, and my 2 sisters, Lori and Sue.
Very good. Right here, thank you. This is like the first of all the retirement parties or get-togethers for them. They'll come to a head next Thursday when we have our staff celebration, and we'll have everyone together. We'll be able to celebrate all of them. So let's go to our next retiree. And our next retiree is Rosemary Roxy Summers. Roxy, come on up. This is Roxy. She has been a teacher in our special education department for 16 of her 21 years in education. Here in the district, she was an instrumental part of the Best Buddies program for a long time. And when I asked, some of the things that she remembers about Lockport and what she's going to take with her, she said she's writing a book with all the anecdotes of all the things that the kids and her fellow teachers have said over the course of time. So I want to read that book. Make sure you get me a copy of that, because unless I'm involved in them, then I don't want to know. She's keeping her options open during retirement. I know she's maintained her insurance license and your realtor's license and all that kind of stuff. And one day you want to head overseas and maybe teach overseas somewhere. That sounds pretty cool. So Roxy, for all your years of service to the students and families and community, good luck in retirement. Thank you. And our final retiree for this evening, Mr. George Pullman. Mr. Pullman, come on. So Mr. Pullman, he's going to be retiring now after 35 years in education, 30 of those years right here in Lockport, okay, as a PE and adventure ed teacher. George, while he was here, he was I think he was the freshman center manager at one point, or freshman manager at one point. Also coached boys soccer, coached girls soccer, track. If you've ever been in one of his courses, those adventure courses are fantastic. I love watching them. He doesn't think I watch him out the window, but I watch what he does out the window. And for the board, you probably remember George as the union president. So he would present it at monthly reports. And in fact, 10 years ago, and this is a true story, I'm not just making this up, true story, when I first came here to Lockport, the first phone number I put into my cell phone was Dr. Wernette, the superintendent. The second phone number I put in my phone was George Pullman, because we obviously worked very, very closely together for 7 years. 7 years. So I've worked real closely with George over the course of the last 10 years. We were on committees together. We worked with the teacher appraisal committee. So I've appreciated all that he's done for us and that I've been able to work with him on. On a personal note, I've often spoken with George about his years of service in the Army Reserves, and he retired from the Army Reserves here, Lieutenant Colonel or Colonel? Lieutenant Colonel in the Reserves. How about a round of applause just for that alone? And having a son who was in the military as well, I often spoke to George about, is this right? Is this normal? Is this what happens? And George was very supportive. So as George heads into retirement, he's going to be doing all of the kayaking and hiking and hunting and fishing that he can do. And I'm sure he'll be tooling around on his motorcycle with his dear wife, Debbie, who's here as well tonight. So George, good luck and take care. We're going to miss you.
That's my lovely wife, Debbie, over here.
Thank you, George. And thank you and congratulations to all of our students and retirees. And I'm going to pass it back over to Ms. Lopez-Caniva.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to give you a few words on behalf of the Board of Education. Congratulations to the students and to the parents, and thank you for coming here to, to celebrate this occasion that's, that's part, like as Dr. McBride said, it's just like the Emmys and the Oscars and the Tonys. It's going to get more and more, but thank you so much. And also congratulations to the LTHS retirees. We will truly miss you, and thank you for all you've done here at the high school. All right, and I believe we do have some refreshments in back, so if you would like to stay, and hopefully, our board members, we would like to talk to you personally and congratulate, everyone. So please, we'll take a 5-minute recess. All right, thank you for coming.
take it and stick it in some dirt. And then they'll plant the vegetables or flower, whatever. So the none of here is gonna go to the east side. Right center door there. It's freezing in here. It's all his food, it can't.
Yeah. We're gonna have to talk to Mr. Thompson about that. I think he does that on
Yeah,
purpose.
yeah. They had the best plants. Yeah, so she'll go get those plants. And then I'll plant some plants outside.
I'd rather have it cold than hot, because if it's so hot, I'll just stop.
I'll tell
My head will fall.
she checked the telephone number, right? I'll tell you nothing, give her a call. I'll call her tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, it just automatically swallows it down the wrong hole.
Okay.
I do that a lot.
Allergies are bad this year.
It's what?
Allergies are bad this year.
Yeah, I know, I swallowed,
Gag, yeah,
I swallowed,
the wrong thing.
into my lung. My lung isn't happy about it. We're okay. Thank you for the nice card. It's especially hard on my parents.
That do anything?
It says harder to lose a child
Oh, it's this cable.
than
Is
for
it on?
lose a parent.
Good enough.
I don't know how to move it.
No, you're fine.
Promise we won't pull out the cable.
Unfortunately, I'm in it, but you have it pretty much set. It flashed green a couple times.
I did, but I did watch it. I'm never quite sure if it's the actual day, if it's a different day. I tend to celebrate my birthday week. There's so many long
All right, we're going to start with our report, student government.
No, we already reconvened.
Okay. Hello, the first thing we wanted to talk about was twerp, since that was last Saturday. Overall, it was a very positive experience. I know a lot of students were looking forward to that, especially because it was pushed to later in the year, so it was I think there was a really good turnout. And then there was great weather. It turned out to be a really nice night, so that definitely helped. And Boom, once again, made it super fun, and personally I love when they come and do our dances, because they make it like a whole, almost like a concert vibe, and I love how they come during the week too to the cafeteria, and they let us like get up and dance to like win free twerp tickets, so that's really fun too. And then also during our dress up days there was a lot of participation, so students were looking forward to those as well.
Adding on to what Anna said, for me personally, I also had a really good experience with twerp. I felt like it was really easy getting into the dance this time compared to when I went to homecoming. The weather was really nice, and that just made it an overall nice experience being outside. It was overall a really good time.
And then the other thing we wanted to talk about was AP testing, since those were last week and the week before that. I took the AP language and composition test, and I thought that everything went really well. I felt very prepared, and that my teacher made sure that like everything we did basically over the whole year was preparing for that test, so I didn't feel super stressed about it going into it. So I think everything we did throughout the year paid off, and also it was very organized. Like they sent out emails to make sure we knew like the exact room number, so the day of it was like no chaos, anything. We just showed up and we're ready to take the test, so that was good.
I also took the AP Lang exam, and then I also took the AP US History exam, and for both days it was just really organized and an overall smooth experience.
And then we just wanted to thank you guys for making sure we were in school all year. It was obviously with like the pandemic and everything, this was the first like more normal year, so we just wanted to thank you for everything that you guys have done to keep us in, and hopefully next year's similar to this year too.
You seniors?
Yeah, well,
Juniors.
juniors, so seniors next year.
So we'll see you next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We hope we have Anna and Javi back, you know, good to see you. And two of our, just for the board, Charlie and Francesca Freire is playing lacrosse, representing us right now. And then Charlie is away playing lacrosse. So thank you to you guys for, you know, preparing with me and meeting and just being here with us, you know, for all of these board meetings. You did a great job.
Thank
Are
you.
you guys planning to run for office next year?
Yeah, we are.
Who's gonna be president?
I guess we'll find out in the fall.
You guys
Wow, Anna, you are a skilled politician.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thanks so much. Nice job.
All right, the SEAC report, students.
Hello, I'm Sophia Marcial, a senior, here representing SEAC. I plan to attend the University of Chicago as a biochemistry major, and I'd like to start with a little bit of review. The Student Equity Action Committee is a group where students take actions to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to be successful and to be recognized at the school. Last time we presented, we mentioned the things we did during first semester, and we'd like to continue that as we review second semester. In second semester, we continued our cultural celebration of Heritage Months, featuring guest speakers and our charity drive. In February, we celebrated Black History Month and by playing songs on Fridays at both campuses, decorating the hallways, making and distributing Google Classroom headers, and we also featured an African-American female business HR director as our guest speaker, Nicole Matlock. In March, we celebrated Women's History Month. We put together a Compass scavenger hunt to bring awareness to women's stories. We also helped with the district videos on Porter Voices to share our perspectives. We organized our flow drive, which is currently ongoing. And then we also had another guest speaker, Anise Puckett, who talked about HBCU experience and scholarship opportunities. This month, we're celebrating Asian American Pacific Islander Month with our Compass scavenger hunt to raise awareness of contributions from the Asian American Pacific Islander community.
Hi, I'm Monica Marcial. I'm a freshman, and I would like to talk about what we hope to accomplish next year. Similar to the goal we established for this school year, we want to build on the action part of our committee by organizing more service projects and giving back to the local community, and expanding our efforts to raise awareness about cultures, voices, and perspectives that make up Lockport Township High School. We are grateful for the progress that we have been able to make in year 2, and there's still more work that needs to be done with your help and other adults and faculty in our school. Some ideas for the future where we could raise our presence in our school is having cultural dress-up days in February aligned with twerp, a fundraiser and community service project connected to Black History Month, and making connections to local businesses owned by women, different cultures and races, and having a cultural tasting called a Taste of Porters. We also hope to highlight April's Arab Heritage Month and more cultural holidays by being able to place more displays around the school where students can learn about other cultures,
And next year, we would like to have a bigger presence in Fresh Start so more students can learn about what our club is, what we do, if they want to help out. And we would also like to have panel discussions about mental health and working with new student resource officers on making even more connections with the school. And having a wider presence on social media and merchandise through the Porter Pride store to spread the word about equity. Finally, we would like to commend teachers, faculty, administration, and the school board on the initiatives on social emotional learning, Compass, and Late Start. We ask for the school to continue the efforts that teachers use to find out information about their students, such as their skill levels and also likes, dislikes, hobbies, extracurriculars. When teachers find out where our skills are and meet us at that level, it helps because it enables us as students to see where we're at and also helps us discover how our teachers can help us get to the next level. Additionally, when teachers find out who we are beyond what they see in the classroom, it makes students feel more motivated and engaged, so we commend teachers this year for trying to do that, taking more initiative on that part. We also really enjoyed Compass this year because not only was it a place to catch up on homework, but if we missed a lesson in a difficult class, it helped us to understand what we missed, and it helped us connect with teachers and form better relationships with them. We like that we were able to sign up for ourselves, and we would ask for a little more flexibility with the sign up in terms of signing up the day of. That was a feature that students really missed when you couldn't do that anymore. We also appreciated the extra activities available in the library, like read the first chapter of a book and the movies they showed in the library. And we would like teachers and administration to take another look at the use of home port days and maybe reduce those in the future so that we can spend our time where we felt it was really the most beneficial, which was in classrooms with teachers reviewing that material. We also like the way that Late Starts worked this year because it was like a day to reset. We got more sleep, and of course there's research backing up that benefit of better sleep for teenagers especially, but also Late Starts provided a much necessary mental health break for us that helped us recharge, especially as we get towards that middle of the week. Thank you to the members of the school board for giving us the opportunity to present tonight.
And yeah, we can give you a round of applause. It looks like you have some followers here. Do you want to introduce these fine people that came with you tonight?
Oh, yes, these are our parents, my mom and my dad. Thank you for coming to support us.
Yeah, we appreciate your daughters, yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Yes.
How many members of your club? Approximately.
Approximately. So since we switched to in-person meetings this year, definitely dwindled a little since last year. Now we're at maybe 15 members who come actively. And we're hoping that next year we might pick a day that's less busy than our Wednesday meetings because it seemed a lot of other clubs and sports were meeting during the time we meet, so we saw a loss of membership, unfortunately.
Do you have like a Zoom option to attend your meetings?
We used to have kind of like a dual meeting setup where we had in-person and also a link for the Google Classroom. That was when we were meeting in the maroon room. Unfortunately, we couldn't figure out the technology side of that, so either audio or video was missing, and it was more inconvenient for people to join through the Google Meet. We were thinking of maybe bringing that back later, seeing if we could fix the technology portion of that. But for right now, we are all in person.
Okay, and then I know you're celebrating certain cultures and things. Can you put on your list to potentially have something about indigenous people?
Yes.
Okay,
I believe
something to celebrate, you know.
I believe that month is November, and not this year, but last year we had put together some materials. Unfortunately, this year we weren't able to roll that out, but that will definitely be on the list, the to-do list for next year.
Yeah, okay, and highlight some of their, you know, there's some great people.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, nice job.
evening, everyone. Just reporting on all our events that we had laid out. We had our union party, our Cinco de Mayo. I couldn't go. Yeah. I heard it was good, though. I heard it was good. But, yeah, so that did occur. And then Teacher Appreciation Week, thank you. I know there were a lot of different events and things that occurred. We appreciate things from administration, student government, National Honor Society. So again, I missed the ice cream. I wasn't here, but oh well.
Some was saved in the freezer at East Campus, so.
It was offered, but that's all right. Thank you, though. I appreciate it. So thank you for all of that. So this is my last board meeting as union president, and it has been 4 years of great learning. I have learned to truly appreciate the roles that everybody has served here, and I feel like it's very eye-opening. So in the 4 years that I've been here, I have watched school board members just dedicated to choosing new leadership, that new leadership making some great moves within this building. So I am truly proud to be a Porter, and as you know, I grew up a Porter. I still live in the community, and I'm gonna stay a Porter even when I retire in 3 years. So yeah, but I'm proud of this place. I am truly proud of this place. So thank you for all that you've done. I appreciate the lines of communication here. I think it is, I think it's a good relationship, and I really appreciate everything that you've done. So I am very proud to announce that we have a fantastic person that will follow up as the union president, and you are lucky that you are going to get to listen to Katie Kishline, hopefully for a lot of years to come. So I would like to introduce Katie Kishline. It is a 2-year commitment, but we'll keep trying.
Two.
It's only a 2-year commitment, yeah.
No,
So
I'm excited to be here. Big shoes to fill, but I'm excited to take on the new role.
Katie, just for board members, what department do you teach in?
I'm in the CCA Computer College and Career Applications department. I run our co-op work program. I oversee our cosmetology program and the Wilco program. So every kid that leaves the building.
You are the world's greatest athletic ticket
and
master. I mean, come on, let's be honest.
Which was busy this year, but yes. So yes, I do a lot. I'm excited. So, thank you.
Well, you can't, Cooper, you can't leave, too quickly. The board wants to thank you. Let's give it up for Karen and. We think it's more like 8 or 6.
It's been a long 4 years for all of us. Thank you.
Such a great job. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you. Foundation report. That's you.
Good evening. Just a couple of things for anyone that would be interested in attending. Senior Awards Night is this coming Wednesday at 7 o'clock in the auditorium. It will also be live streamed, but the foundation was thrilled to be able to facilitate just about 40 scholarships for some of our students. For our graduating seniors, we're excited to highlight them and celebrate them in just a couple of days. The golf outing is coming up in just 5 weeks. So if anyone is interested, you don't have to golf. You can just come and be there for the banquet and the awards. We do highlight the foundation scholars at the golf outing. So it's a nice way to get to see them and know them. If you are at all interested, you can come out for dinner, come out for golf. And then we are moving forward with Young Hearts for Life. Very excited about that. It will require just about 200 volunteers on our campus. The event will take place on September 8th. At the East Campus in the field house. Some of us went to go watch or observe Young Hearts for Life at work at Revis High School, and we're very excited about the opportunity to do that at our own school and bring maybe even some life-saving information to some of our students. It was when we were there at Revis, which is a much smaller school than we are. They actually did already pull, when we were there, they had pulled someone aside. So that child wasn't going to practice that day. So in just that short amount of time, there could have been something, again, just a life-saving measure that we're excited to be a part of and make it a tradition here at Lockport. And also met with the city of Lockport, and the Taste of Lockport will be coming to our town. There's a lot of planning that's going to go into that, but it'll be sometime in the fall. We have 2 dates that we are kind of deciding on, but we're excited to kind of partner with with Lockport. They're going to help us. The event will take place downtown Lockport in front of City Hall, and they're just as excited as we are to try and do a community-style event to bring all of our porters together, whether they go to the school or not. And then a side note is in June, we'll have our last fiscal year meeting for the board, for the foundation. They take July off and meet again in August. And this June, hope to have, it seems as if we'll have 3 new board members joining for a total of 12 on the board with a max of being 15. So we're slowly moving towards filling up the board. Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah, nice job.
Thanks.
Thank you. Legislative report.
Did we skip the ISB?
I know, I'm sorry. Yes, IASB report. Ms. Johnson, sorry, I apologize. That's all right. There's always a lot of educational programs that the ISB offer, and I recommend that people go out and take advantage of it. And if you can't figure out how to sign up for it, Kathy is very helpful in signing you up. You know, sometimes I can sign up myself and sometimes I can't, but Kathy always helps me out. One thing they sent me recently is they got I guess it's a day program. It's called the Trust Edge Experience. And it's going to be August the 6th at 8:30, it's all day 8:30 to 4. It's going to be at the Chicago Marriott Naperville, off of Naperville Boulevard. It sounds interesting, so something to think about. So.
And I was just at Illinois School for Advanced Leadership, and we got a 2-hour preview from IASB on this exact program, and I found it fascinating. It's really interesting about building trust in a community. It's local here. The author of the book, The Trust Edge, is the speaker. And so August 6th, it would be, sometimes we've done our board retreat on that day, but it's just really, I'll get you some information as well. I was very impressed by our 2 hours, sort of a compressed version of what they're going to present in 6 hours at that event. So
I was thinking about going, so
yeah, I think it'd be very worthwhile.
And if you should see it from Dean, what's his name? Dean Langdon.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see the email from him, typically he's the one that coordinates education. So if you see an email from him, open it, and see what they got going on. So,
All right, thank you. All right, now it's the legislative report.
Yeah, just a few things for the board this month. One is not so much legislative, but something going on with ISBE. There was, I would say, a bit of outrage. ProPublica, which is a public kind of watchdog, ran an article about a practice that I'm familiar with. I've been at schools that have used this practice of partnering with local law enforcement to write municipal tickets for certain behaviors in school, like attendance, rather than a truancy officer in the county, writing a actual fine ticket, vaping, other infractions that we would handle, that most schools would handle as discipline, writing tickets for them with some obvious repercussions of the cost and things like that. Actually, we do not use that practice, so I do want to share that with the public and with the board. And actually, in our school resource officer agreement, that new agreement that you approved last month prohibits us from using our new school resource officers to reach into, as municipal police, into matters which are really school matters, not criminal matters.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, yeah.
So I did read that article, and they have a search engine on there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And in the article it said that they had FOIA'd different municipalities in order to see how many tickets had been written for the district. Now, I believe it started in 2018, 2019 is where they looked at it.
Okay.
So when I looked at Lockport's numbers, and I know this is a practice that we don't have, they did have violations under our school district.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't know where their information is coming
Yeah.
from, but I found that very interesting because I knew that that
And
was.
I don't
the case.
recall that we received a FOIA request from them.
I think they did the municipalities directly,
Oh,
not the
got
school
it.
districts.
Yeah.
Is that, are they like listed as like having committed a crime then? Does it show up as on their record?
No, it's really more like a parking ticket, Mr. Navarro. Well, we should look into that. I don't know, there's a few people we might discuss in 2018 if we were giving any kind of station adjustments. And then also the accuracy of that. If that's inaccurate, then we can work to say that's not accurate. There are a few superintendents who have sent to the whole state, that's not accurate about Vienna High School District in, downstate, so. State Representative Dagmara Avila, who represents about half of our attendance area, she was here for our career week. She's asked to do a roundtable of all the superintendents in her legislative district. So we're working to set up a time to do that. Interesting decision by the Appellate Court of Illinois. They have ruled that any student 12 years old, ages 12 or older, can block the release of any kind of mental health records that a school has under the Illinois Student Records Act and Illinois Confidentiality Act. Interesting. And then a number of bills were signed. My colleague, Dr. Huntington, cited one of them today to free up the sort of teacher shortage and paraprofessional shortage we're having. This thing is real, and it's real concerning. I learned this weekend in downstate Illinois what it's leading to is school consolidation, because some of the smaller districts in downstate can't hire, and so they're having to consolidate. And so, for example, it eases up getting a substitute teacher license. Also, as Dr. Huntington mentioned today, the age to be a parapro has been lowered from 19 to 18 and a half, just to free that up to get more people coming into education. So that is what's going on with legislation.
Are they still talking about consolidating schools?
They are not. They did not this spring. But some downstate municipalities driven by the teacher shortage are talking about it, just because they might have to do co-ops or do online teaching of some sort, just because, for example, one of my superintendent colleagues downstate, they can't hire people to teach physics, in small rural districts. And we're feeling that in a number of areas. So, that's my report.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you. All right, public comments. A designated portion of the board meeting is set aside to hear public comments. Person wishing to speak must sign in and provide all information requested on the sign-in sheet, including the agenda item they will be addressing. The board president will call speakers up by name, announcing their time to comment. A time limit of 5 minutes per speaker per agenda topic will be imposed. The purpose of requesting such information on the sign-in sheet is to obtain the correct spelling of the name of the speaker, and contact information will be used for any necessary board follow-up. Public comments are important to the board. However, it is customary not to respond to issues until time has been taken to gather information and discuss all options. Lack of action or response does not imply a lack of interest in the issues brought to by the board, and there is none. Next, moving on, notices and communication.
We received a letter of appreciation from Lightways Hospice and Serious Illness Care for the donation made in memory of Mr. Thomas Canane, who is the father of Joe Canane, who is our athletic trainer here. We also received a note of thanks from Mr. Lewandowski, our fellow board member, for just the support that we provided during the passing of his sister.
We thank you. I thank you all.
You're welcome. All right, and there you have freedom of information requests, which we had 2 of them. All right, next we have our approval items. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the April 25th, 2022 regular Board of Education meeting minutes?
So moved.
And, okay.
I'll second it.
It's been motioned by Dr. Shaw and second by Mr. Lewandowski. Roll call.
Johnson,
Yes.
Navarra,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Travis,
Lewandowski,
Yes.
Lopez Caniva.
Yes. Next, we have the April 25th, 2022 regular Board of Education meeting closed session minutes. Do I have a motion for that?
I move.
All right, Ms. Johnson, and I can second that. All right, roll call.
Navarra,
Yes.
Travis,
Same.
Lewandowski,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Lopez Caniva.
Yes. All right, do I have a motion to approve the May 2022 board member expenses?
I'll make that motion. Second.
It's been motioned by Mr. Lewandowski and second by Mr. Travis. Are there any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Travis,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Lewandowski,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Navarra,
Yes.
Lopez Caniva.
Yes. Okay. Next, Ms. Stephanie Coy will be giving a financial report.
Good evening, Board. Every month, as we started last month, we're going to start to point out a few of the things in the treasurer's report this month. The first thing I want to point out is that at the bottom of the listing, the board does still see the cash projection, the 5-year projection from last month. I want to leave that out there as we're starting to build the budget for next year. So as a reminder to the board of what we're kind of looking at as a starting point, okay? Another thing I want to point out, as you've looked through the bills payable report that you're going to be approving tonight, you may have noticed at least one really big check to IT Savvy, I believe it was written to. After preparing the 5-year financial projections and working with Mr. Dusterhoff, we ended up ordering our Chromebooks for next year very early, which was great because now we don't have to worry about backlog and not getting them, right? Looking at the 5-year financial projections, we decided that this is a good year for us to move the payment of that into this year. So normally we would order those, we would get them, and then we wouldn't pay them till July, so that because we're on a cash basis financials, it would be in next year's budget year. So what'll happen is that one line item will be over. It won't make our whole budget over though, however, based on the 5-year financial that we looked like we were able to do that this year. This is a good year if we're gonna make that transition to making that purchase early every year from here forward. So now next year's budget will include the purchase of Chromebooks for the following year. Does that make sense? Like, this is a good year to make that big purchase change. So I wanted to make sure I pointed that out because it is a big, looking through that list, normally you see about the same kinds of expenses, and that's a big one. It would have stood out to you. The other thing I wanted to point out is if you look at the cash flow projection, we are at the low point because just this month in May is when we're going to start collecting taxes. Absolutely. They're due June 1st, right, in Will County. So when you see the cash flow graph, this is the low point of that month. And you'll also kind of see that in the investment report as well. There were no purchases and maturities. We're at the low kind of point of cash. As the taxes come in May, we're also going to invest that out. The way we do the cash flow and the investing is we schedule out when we need all of the money. I look at the history of when we spend and how much we spend, and we kind of project out, here's our needs, and invest accordingly, right? So as we get the lump of cash in, we invest it out so that it's timed to mature. CDs and treasury bills and other investments that are allowed under our investment policy are all maturing at the time that we need those funds. Okay, so.
Do we have any big objections?
Do we have any what? I'm sorry?
Big people objecting to the taxes?
We haven't seen too many big ones, no. That's a great question. Like historically, we've had a few really significant tax rate objections or tax assessment appeals.
That's what it's appeal.
Yeah, we do have they're not at the PTAB level, but they're at the Board of Review level, right? So we do have a few, but they're not significant. As far as like, they're not asking for a big difference in their assessment. And we do work with the attorneys of our feeder districts to share cost and what that is, so they mitigate that usually. Yeah, good question.
So that would impact your cash flow, right?
Yes, yes, but there's none that are significant enough that it'll impact them at this point anyway. Any other questions on the treasurer's report or financials?
Thank you. Thank you. So then, do I have a motion to approve the April 2022 Treasurer's Report?
So moved.
Sorry.
All right, it's been motioned by Dr. Shaw and second by Mr. Travis. Any questions? Roll call.
Lewandowski,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yeah.
Shaw,
Yes.
Navarro,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Lopez Caniva.
Yes. All right, next we have Superintendent's update.
All right. Well, newsflash, it's actually starting to feel like summer or spring. Thus, your cold temperature in here, and as usual, and we'll celebrate in Bill Thompson's, maintenance report. We're keeping the air refreshed and cool here. And then also, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge that it is Dr. Greenan's birthday this evening. So let's just give Dr. Greenan, nothing like spending your birthday with the board. So happy birthday, Dr. Greenan. We are very glad you were born. Dr. Green and Dr. Greenan will surely have a report that will tell you that it is May and the end of the school year is coming. But this is also a time when board members traditionally have started looking at your goals for next year. And if you see on your agenda, or Mr. Dusteroff is helping me out, what I did is I put in the agenda portion the goals that you presently have, the 6 goals that you have. And the first 2, curriculum and support, climate and culture, those are really the goals tonight that I think I would draw your attention to. The other goals, facilities and finance, technology, communications, I don't necessarily see those changing unless board members look at those and feel like we do have a change that we need to make. So what I wanted to share, and I appreciate Mr. Dusterhoff sharing the slides with you, and I added just 2 additional slides, a little bit different than what was in the agenda, just with some things I thought of this afternoon that might help you. But here's an interesting question just in terms of academics and climate and culture. I was on one of the Compass walk-in talks, and one of the community members, I asked what I thought was a really astute question that I'd like to ask you. And the person said, and I'll give it to you directly, he said, why is Lincoln Way's SAT score so much higher than Lockport's? And I said, well, that's a really interesting question. Now, we could break that down for a variety of different reasons. We could look at the demographics of our students. We could look at size, lots of different things. But the question that I asked the community members, is that what you want our teachers and our board to chase? And what I mean by that is that what we want to pursue? And this is really where we could use some opinion and some perspective and some direction really from the board. I think the SAT is important. I'll never say it's not important. It's a college entrance exam. It can open and close doors. Sophia Marcial, who was here, is a National Merit finalist because of her SAT performance. That's really helped her get into the University of Chicago, do amazing things. So not unimportant. But what we know about the SAT is once you get into college or you move on to wherever you're going to move on, its value diminishes. It has actually very little connection to success in life. So a few illustrations that I would want to show you as I ask you that question about what we pursue. You've seen this before. I presented this at the III conference. Some very fine work that Dr. Cristofero and Mr. Dusterhoff and Dr. Huntington, Dr. Webb-Ray have done to create a dashboard of the percent of our students that are college and career ready, both. They've taken coursework that would give them a college experience, but also give them a career experience. Mrs. Kishline contributes mightily to this. Part of her job is giving students, and I'm sure she scratched her head at times, when she's seen amazing experiences students have had and said, why doesn't every student have an experience like this when we know they're going to go off into the world of work? So this is for all students. This is, as you can imagine, probably our freshmen are not college and career ready right now, you would imagine. So when I showed this to you originally, it was about 27% of our students made that benchmark, both college and career. Next slide, Matt, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Maybe you'll answer this. So why only 27%?
Well, because that includes freshmen. So for example, a freshman probably not completing 4 years, we have freshmen, sophomores in there. They would not be college and career ready their freshman or sophomore year.
But if you took the freshman out, where would we be?
Well, that's what I did right here. So let's talk about that, because I think you're going to ask me the same question, Mrs. Johnson. I think you're going to say, why only 46%? Right? And that's such a good question. So this is the class of 2022 when they graduate. Percent of students who meet both benchmarks, 19%. Percent career ready, 31.6, and percent college ready, 46. Now, what do those both mean? Well, the career benchmark means that you've had some kind of experience, Wilco, class like Mrs. Kishline, an internship, an experience like Mr. Dusterhoff's tech workers, that has gotten you career ready. College would be that you've taken a dual credit class through college, Joliet Community College, or an advanced placement class. And so I would say those actual percentages, I was just talking to the principal of Stevenson High School today, you'd be surprised, that sort of churns out a ton of advanced placement. Their percentage of college and career ready, little tick up higher than ours, but not by a ton because of both. And I think ultimately it's making a decision about, we can increase that with experiences. If we have an experience where we're thinking about how can we get more career experiences and more students enrolled in those type of career experiences, if those dual credit classes, advanced placement classes, if we prepare the way so that before students graduate, they have that experience, that rigor. Both dual credit and advanced placement show that long after a student is out of high school, those are beneficial. And I think, not to keep on using Mrs. Kishline as an example, I'm sure she could tell us many stories of students who've come back and said, that career experience was so helpful for me. Even if it helped me decide I'm going to the military, I'm going into junior college, I'm going to four-year college. In four-year college, I'm going to major in this. So let me just pause here, questions you might have. A lot of people in here who know about this. But, one reason why I'm placing this here, and we're just thinking about this until the next month, is, SAT scores are a part of this, but this is a little bit of a different focus. Right now, your current goal is that in 2025, we aspire to have 100% of our students college and career ready. That's a mighty goal. I'm just going to pause for any feedback you might have before we go.
That may be a mighty goal, but that doesn't mean it should be our goal.
Yeah, talk a little bit more about that, Mr. Navarro.
Well, it's you always have to shoot for as best as you can be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just
Okay.
it.
So when students register for classes in order to have these, obviously we were talking about how the number was lower because freshmen and sophomore might not have that experience yet. What kind of opportunities do they have in their schedules to take courses like that during the first half of their time here?
That's a really good question. One of the things, we just had a meeting with our school counselors today, and one of the things that we're looking at is exactly that question. Really started by some very good work that Dr. Cristofero, our principals, Dr. Webb-Ray, Dr. Hunting have done in terms of creating career pathways. And what that means is suggesting to students a set of classes that would get them college ready as well, but also maybe focus them in on design principles or communication principles, so that they would have a pathway in mind that would more consciously walk them through, rather than taking just electives that seem interesting as they take their English, math, science, social studies. They're taking complementary classes that angle them their senior year to a college and career destination. So really doing some work their freshman and their sophomore year with our school counselors. So they do have those opportunities, but I think it's us being more directional with students than just allowing choice to happen. really exercising what we know will help them. And Mr. Navarro made a point, I can't remember which board meeting, but it's even good to find out what you don't want to do. Mr. Lewandowski mentioned when he was here at LTHS, he learned what he wanted to go into because he learned some things he didn't want to go into. You know, now he's a master heart maker.
So
Maybe
in order to be considered to get credit for dual credit and AP, the students have to be in those classes for a year, or can they do a semester?
Most of those are year-long classes. We do have some advanced placement classes that are a semester long. Right now, we're talking to Joliet Junior College because we had some dual credit that were a semester, but they want to move all their dual credit to a year long. And that creates choices for our students that they might not want to make. Maybe we'll take just another indicator to have you think about. This is U.S. News and World Report, and this is what came out. And I just want you to see what the scorecard is that they use. Out of 24,000 high schools they ranked in the nation, we were 4,392. That put us about, we sort of moved up in the rankings by about 100 schools. I'll show you in a moment last year's. 159th in Illinois, 143 in Chicago Metro area. Looking at that scorecard, we improved our scorecard. You do see a few numbers which are just not changing. Took at least one AP exam, passed at least one AP exam. Those are seniors only. They do not look at any other grade when they do their ranking. Our mathematics proficiency and our reading proficiency, I think a good thing, stayed rock solid even through the pandemic. We got help. We moved up because science proficiency, we do take a science exam, and so that was added.
What do those mean?
What that means is the percent of students that meet or exceed in that senior class. On mathematics and reading, good question, Mr. Navarro, are those SAT scores? And the science proficiency is on the Illinois Science Assessment. And those are defined by the state of Illinois.
Isn't that bad that we're at 42%?
Well, you would have to really reflect on that. Now, the SAT is a test that is designed by nature always to have a high and a low because it's designed to really spread students out for college admissions. That is a question. Would you, and what that is a measure of, it's not a measure of what are necessarily our courses. It's not a measure of the type of assessments that people like Mrs. Cooper prepare for her math students. It's a measure of a one-day test. And so to improve that, mathematics proficiency and reading proficiency as a board, you'd have to direct us to say, we want those SAT scores to go up. It would be my argument to you that if we used a different type of test, like other states do, this is a norm referenced test. If we used a criteria reference test, here's what you have to do to show proficiency in reading, or here's what you have to do to show proficiency in mathematics, I think you'd see a significant change, but that's not currently what the state of Illinois uses. Thus, the question is that what we want to pursue? The science proficiency, which came out much higher, is actually a criteria reference test. Graduation rate, I would submit to the board, we're talking a lot about this. I would say our real graduation rate, and it hurts us in these rankings because it has a lot of weight, is really 98%. That's because last year, for example, we had 33 students who moved on to the CCC program as students with special needs, but they are counted just like the 13 students who are non-graduates. And many superintendents believe the state of Illinois needs to stop doing that. If you take a look at last year's ranking, 2021, you'll see how we just moved up in the rankings. If you just go to the next slide, Mr. Dustoff, you got it. We had a 75, we were 71 last year. You can see how those AP exam numbers, math proficiency numbers didn't change. Graduation rate still at about 93% because we're pretty steady in terms of how many of our students go off. So again, trying to get your thoughts around what type of academic goals would you want us to pursue here? And maybe just kind of pause there for any kind of feedback you might have of things that you've seen that you know might say, hey, these are things that we think you should pursue.
I genuinely think we really should be encouraging for them to take the AP exam.
Yeah, do you mind telling us a little bit more about your thoughts there, Mr. Navarro?
I don't know. It's just like one of those things where even like as I was a student, we were always like intimidated by the AP exams, and like looking back, it's kind of like one of the things where I'm like, no, I probably should have just at least tried.
Okay.
Because like it was, I really only had like $81 to lose, and that kind of is a lot for like a senior. But like now looking back as somebody who ended up having to take the classes despite me taking 3 on, it's like, you know what? Probably should have taken the $81 back then than take the $10,000 for a semester in college. You know, stuff like.
And it's a good, and dual credit is similar. In some ways, some would say dual credit is even more of a passport because it gives you a JJC transcript. You know,
Yeah.
both are really strong indicators.
I think like another part of it was like the fear that like there was some kids who were like, well, I don't plan on going to JJC, so they're gonna take the AP exam so that they can prep for like their college, because they were under the impression that their college just wouldn't take it. And it's like, well, if only JJC's gonna admit it, then why would I bother if I know I'm not gonna end up there?
Right. And there's some variance outside of Illinois. Having 2 daughters who attend college outside of Illinois, there is variance in terms of what's accepted. What remains solid about dual credit courses and advanced placement is how it exposes students to rigor, and they understand what a rigorous course is, not finding that out when they arrive on a college campus and realize how difficult it is.
Oh, yeah.
Do we have many students that take the courses yet don't sit for the exam?
That is interesting, because I just was standing out talking to a colleague who teaches at a lacrosse game AP biology, and we were asking what that total number is. We were curious about it, and I don't have that right now, but you know, Karen Murphy was just frustrated by the students who she found out in the end didn't take the AP biology test and felt they were completely ready for it.
She's a great bio teacher,
Yeah, very much so.
Is it completely possible for somebody to take the test having not taken a course?
It's been done. I've seen students do it. So, and I just want to show you 2 other measures of interest that you haven't
You've
seen.
seen them do it, but did they succeed?
Yeah, in my career, I've seen some students who have. I once worked with a student who took 27 advanced placement tests and scored a 3 or above on all of them. Yeah, right. Wow. I don't know if I would recommend that. I don't think that's the intent, right?
They just passed college at age 18.
Probably.
It's crazy.
You know, another thing, I just want to show you a couple other things that the state is looking at. This will be on our school report card next year. And really looking forward to unpacking what this means with you and what it means with our staff to understand it a little bit more. But this equity journey, it's looking at 3 things: student learning, learning condition, and elevating educators. Student learning really refers to what we just saw with state accountability tests. And if you're more towards the left, step 1, gaps between different types of students. And there are gaps between our students with special needs, our African American students, our Hispanic students, our low income students, and for example, our white and Asian students. When you look at things like the SAT, this graph is suggesting we have some work to do in that area. Learning conditions is primarily looking at climate, but it's also primarily looking at discipline. Are there differences between different types of students in terms of how they're disciplined? Are you suspending students at a very high rate? Built into this is a list this year of the top 20% of high schools that put students outside of school as discipline. We are not on that list. I know that. And we have improvement because in that measure, learning conditions, I think we do a phenomenal job with BIC, with interventions in our classroom that our teachers do to prevent suspension. We don't have large disparities. We're right in the middle between different types of students, different races of students, and their discipline. And then elevating educators, that's our highest mark. Why is it so high? That's based on the education level of our staff's participation in professional development, very high. And then also, that is a reflection of the diversity on our staff. There are not big gaps. We have a staff that's representative of our student population. So something that the state will report out in the fall. And then, hot off the presses, we never got, as promised last week, the parent results. I don't know when those are coming. But this is the 5 essentials, and these are our results from February. Just give you just a quick shot, because this goes to your climate and culture goal. Yeah, Mr. Navarro.
What is it? It's mostly for the ones that were towards the bottom. Like, what is the thing in the rightmost column mean again? Is that something that they? What is?
Those are the type of that they sort of give a category.
Oh, it's
it's like a category of what this measure is. So, for example, socialization of new teachers. This survey is teachers and staff primarily. I mean, teachers and students. And it is only if you have a license, so it's not all staff members, and we're required to take this annually. If I was state superintendent, I'd have the whole staff take it, but that's not what they've decided. So a supplemental measure is the degree to which we feel new teachers are kind of welcomed into our system, onboarded well, feel welcomed in teams. That perception by our teachers, very strong. It was our strongest measure. And then you can see student-peer relationships, how kids relate to each other. Trust between teachers and students, very strong. Human and social resources in the community, very strong as well. Can you go to the next slide, Mr. Dustin? You can see some other strong indicators. Then we got to some neutral areas. Academic press, is just people who are neutral about are we presenting and publishing, for example. Are we personalizing academics? Course clarity, teacher-to-teacher trust, people were neutral about that. They didn't have a strong feeling one way or the other. And then if you can just go one more, I think we have 2 more measures. This is the last one. So these were some areas where people said, students and teachers said you could improve. Classroom rigor, innovation, and then this one I think is very important, teacher influence on decision making. I mean, that's a call sign to us as leaders that we need to include more teacher voice in the decisions we're making. And then students said their understanding of importance of high school to their future, they felt that was very weak. The important thing with the 5 essentials I found is to really unpack it with people. And I'm going to look forward to meeting with a variety of different people to say, hey, what did you mean when you answered this question? Because sometimes what the survey asks and what people think are 2 different things. So that's a climate and culture. Might influence what I bring back to you with climate and culture, not so much academics. So I'm going to stop my report there just for any additional questions. But I wanted to share with you some things that I'm looking at that I want to unpack with our leadership team and with our staff. We're not going to be doing any of that unpacking in the last 9 days, but it's something really worth looking at over the summer. And then when I come back in June, I might have some recommendations about some revisions to district goals. That's my report. Back to you, Mrs. Camino.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Dr. McBride. Okay. Next, we have our information reports, and it's going to be our curriculum report from Dr. Lori Cristofaro and Dr. Angela Huntington.
You and I had a discussion about the community perception, about our academics and the rigor and stuff like that. You want to speak on that a little bit?
Yeah. We, Mr. Johnson and I talked about in the past couple board meetings, we've had individuals talk about lowering standards. And so I met with a number of those people to say, hey, can you help me understand that a little bit more? And I'll just give you a few examples to pave the way for my colleagues. One example was restorative practices in discipline. the individuals, restorative practice, or being in BIC instead of out-of-school suspension, seeing as a lowering of behavior standards. And what I shared with community members is that, in my mind, I would say it's actually a higher standard, because you're going to have a consequence, but you're also going to stay in school here, and you're going to stay connected to school here. Something my teaching colleagues were working through, but something minimal grading. We've really moved to, rather than giving a 0, because we use a 100-point scale. So if you receive a 0, even for work you didn't do, that 0 can stay with you. One teacher recently referred to it as an atomic 0. It can put a hole in your grade that is almost permanent, and you can't recover it. So we do minimum grading, that the lowest a grade can receive is a 45%, because now it's more mathematically proportionate. But I would also say we have a lot of work with our staff to work through that. I thought a teacher really articulated in a listening session that I did that we've got to be thinking about some other ways, because for all of us, we're frustrated when students just say, I'm not doing anything. That's frustrating for everybody. So those were some of the examples of just working through. The idea is we don't want to sabotage student grades. We do want to hold students accountable, but at the same time, we don't want them to put them in a situation where a grade they earn in September is unrecoverable all the way to December. So I could give you more examples, but I would take away from your time. And just one little last point to Ms. Johnson's point. What we talked a lot about is how can we unpack those perceptions. One last example, I had one of our speakers say, he doesn't see books in his house anymore. And for people of my age, when we see students with books, we think that's school. But most of what our students are doing is on their Chromebook. And we work through that, because it's not a hard book in front of you doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't learning going on or materials. So,
Teed it up for a discussion about books. Thank you, Dr. McBride.
Over to you.
So last month I was here and I reviewed with you the process that we go through to select materials and resources. Most of those like textbooks or online materials, and I went through that and shared a list with you, and then you'll see it on your agenda later on this evening. But I wanted to do the same thing kind of for our English novel selection process, and when I use the word novel, it could be play, it could be nonfiction. It's a bigger work that they study in the English classroom. So very similar. The teachers on the course teams determine if they're going to continue to use a particular novel or resource, and if they do, then they would share it with their department. The department piece really comes into play if there was something new. And tonight I'm not sharing with you that they want to change anything or propose anything new. They're going to continue to use the things they've been using for the past few years. And so if a teacher wanted to, or a teacher team saw a need, wanted to propose a new book, they would obviously read the book and share with their colleagues, but then there would be a form. They would discuss it in their course team, which we regularly call our PLC teams. Then they would take it to the department, discuss it in the department as they think about the progression of skills and reading students do. And then it would come to like a leadership team where there would be an English teacher, department chair, representative from Central, representative from East, and me. Like I said, we didn't have to go through all of that because we didn't have any new books this year. The list that you see there for your approval for next month, it includes resources, any resource, even if it's not a cost, right? So if it's something that's freely accessible, like maybe a play, but we spend a lot of time on it and all students in a particular class have to read it, we thought it was important to make sure that we brought it to your attention. Also interesting on that list, our English teachers regularly use an instructional method called literature circles. And so instead of the whole class reading one book, the teacher might give students 4 to 6 books to select, and then they work in groups to review the books, read the books. There's similar activities that you would do in each group. So those are also on the list. Any questions about the English novel selection process?
Do you do the same process to make sure that the ones you have are still appropriate?
So the teacher teams, if they would decide that they thought they needed to remove a resource, replace it because something regarding skills, or they thought that there was maybe something with relevance, they needed to bring something in, that's where that discussion would take place. All right, if there's no questions on it, thank you for the one question, but if there's no further questions, I'll talk a little bit about summer curriculum. So just a reminder, last month I brought to you the budget, which you graciously approved, and maybe I should have asked for a little more because we had a huge demand. A lot of teachers wanted to engage in that work. But thank you for supporting it. And just a reminder, some of the monies for summer curriculum work come out of the district budget, and some come out of our federal grants, which help defray the cost to our taxpayers. Some frequent words you might see on that big list of what was approved. One is curriculum map. So a lot of our teams are working to develop the overview of what it is they are teaching, and a lot of teams want to do that work because, remember, we're hoping to publish some, not all, some will be on our website so that parents, any community members could go and see a broad stroke of what is taught. Another word you're going to see frequently on there is assessments. And in the old days, we might just say the word test, but now assessments are so much more than a test. It could be a sample writing, it could be some kind of performance, but it's really, how do we check to see that the students have learned or mastered a skill that we want them to learn? And two other words you'll see along with assessments are formative and summative. And the way we think about formative, it's for learning, it's in the moment. Teachers decide, they look at those results and they decide if they need to shift their instruction or do something different. And summative is more like at the end of the experience, the learning to skill to make sure students got there. So you can see a lot of our teacher teams are working really hard to provide those common experiences for their students so they can look at that information together when they're in their PLC teams on Wednesday mornings and make adjustments or shifts based on that. Another phrase you'll see a lot on there is learning targets. And so we did spend our January Institute Day working on these. Basically, it's learning goals, but they're learning goals we share with students so that they're written in student-friendly language, and that students can also monitor their own progress to see if they've met the goal in the class, but also it fosters good communication between the teacher and the student, because sometimes students will say, you'll ask the student, what do you not understand? And the student will say, I don't know, I don't get it. Well, that's really hard for a teacher to diagnose, but if they can point to something in the learning target or articulate, I can't do this learning target, that really helps the teacher. So our teachers are working hard on that. I was just gonna highlight a couple of the projects which were maybe a little bit different than these. One, we talked a lot with you about our shift in our guidance department, that they're going to school links. I've talked about that really robust new tool we're going to be using, so they're going to do some work around that. There is one in there also about social and emotional learning that we've been using Panorama. How can we be more strategic and provide some lessons in Compass during the home ports for our students, but also give some more language perhaps to our teachers about the larger competencies with social and emotional learning. Another one I wanted to highlight for you is our media information staff are engaging. Remember, we just had a policy passed that was put into state law about media literacy, and Illinois being the first state to mandate education in that area. So they're going to do some work there. And then lastly, I just wanted to highlight one of our EL teachers is really going to work hard to infuse some curriculum to really help students get ready for the Seal of Biliteracy test. So some of our English language learners have a lot of the skills. We just need to help flush out exactly how they can get ready for that test. And that provides a gateway to a board goal, a state goal, offering them more opportunity. So that is summer curriculum. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them to the best of my ability.
Take it away, Dr. Huntington.
I'm just going to address, I feel like a slacker, right? Because I only have one thing to talk about, where Mrs. Christopher had several things to talk about. I'm going to talk about our PLC MTSS professional development that took place on at East Campus. We had it on May 12th, and that was all day long. And then at Central Campus on Friday the 13th, I know, scary, we did that during their team time sessions. And so what we did is we took a group of educators who went out and received intensive training on RTI and MTSS with Solution Tree, and we kind of call ourselves the Austin 11 because there was 11 of us, and we divvied up the responsibilities of sharing this information out with our peers. Our goal for this session was to just get the information and the vocabulary in front of teachers. We want to make sure that people understand what the words all mean. What is it when you say MTSS? What does it mean to be a tier 1 or a tier 2 or a tier 3? So we really worked hard on making sure that we were friendly and fun and got that information across. And it was a great experience. We did record a couple of the sessions. Thank you to our technology students who came in and did those recordings, and they're going to kind of put it together for us so we can utilize that same training for our new teachers and also the teachers that were unable to attend. And I will tell you that nobody just blew me off. They were subbing for other teachers is typically what happened, why people did have to miss it. At the end, we gave them an exit slip and kind of gauge where people were feeling. And nobody said, I have no idea what you're talking about, which was great. And their self-assessment, they were really feeling proficient in the information that they received over the course of those 2 days. I think it was a good learning experience for me. The way we kind of utilized the different teams, it was a rotating group because nobody wanted to miss their classes so close to finals. So they presented on their C&P time during their lunch supervision time. They were choosing to utilize those kind of things. And then we also did have some support from one of our PLC trainers, Beth Sacco from Central Campus joined us as well to participate in that professional development. Even Matt Dusterhoff over there was presenting with teachers. And it was a good positive experience, and I feel like we've really laid the foundation for our staff, so when we move forward to next school year, it's not going to be, what's all this new talk about, which was our goal.
I was going to say, I thought, it was really powerful seeing our staff present to their colleagues. And then also, Dr. Huntington used this phrase regularly throughout the day. Like, this whole system we're trying to build is so that teachers, educators, counselors know what to do next to reach a student who's struggling. So I thought that was it, just in the simplest forms that she said in each period.
I did try.
Any questions? You do, this is summer professional development, right?
This is from the curriculum aspect of things, yep.
Yes.
Mhm.
So when you make changes, how do you know that it's working?
Changes to curriculum? That would probably be through the use of our common informative assessments, correct? Yeah, so teachers, if they're making changes in curriculum, the reason why they're doing it is maybe something fell short, something wasn't effective in the data that they do have. And then there would be an adjustment as a team decision-making process to determine this is a different method or this is a better way to kind of get across the information to students. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, we have our principal reports.
Good evening, everybody. Like Dr. McBride said, we have 9 days left with the kids. And so John and I just wanted to start off by saying thank you to everybody in the room for your support this year. There have been times where it's been very trying, but we're very excited about the opportunities we've been able to offer our kids this year, and we're very proud of what our students have accomplished. Bringing the kids to the board meetings, you see those students, but for almost 4,000 students and the things that we've been able to do. We're very proud. So thank you to the board for your support. And, for the birthday boy here, I am very, very proud of the collaboration and the communication that we have between both campuses. So this month has been really busy. It's been nonstop. We appreciate all the support, and because we've had nightly functions taking place. Our seniors, we're very proud to be able to give them the opportunities that they deserve as they leave Lockport. They had prom, senior dinner dance, and then last week twerp. So we've had a lot of fun events. Twerp was a huge success. Mother Nature really did bless us and come through, and the rain stayed off until Sunday, but we had our best buddies, friendship walk. We had the phenomenal musical Annie. That was just absolutely unbelievable, and so incredibly proud of our students. We had a book drive with several of our organizations donating over 3,000 books, students getting inducted into their honor societies, and tonight we honored our skills students. You saw that we had 1 first place, 7 second place, and 1 third place, and Brent Baller will be heading to the national tournament, or the national conference in Atlanta in June, so we're very excited for him. As you saw in your board report, a lot of great things going on this spring. Our spring sports are heading into the state playoffs. Another great event that we host that I think is very meaningful is our baseball and softball strikeout cancer event. That was another phenomenal thing that we had taking place on May 7th to honor not only the Mark Staley Foundation, but one of our own students, alumni, who also passed away. So that was a great event. And then just this past week, track and field, we had many individual SWSC conference champs. So we're very excited and hopefully looking forward to adding to the hardware as we tie up the end of this year with athletics.
Thanks, Carrie. I just want to add what Carrie said at the top, naming really the several events that we've had here the past couple of months that Carrie and I have attended, Dr. McBride, our other administrators. So often, Carrie and I get thank yous for just being able to have an event. We know what we've lost the last couple of years, and we slowly have gained so much. Carrie just went through just about everything that we've had here recently. And it's very nice to get those thank yous, but of course we owe so much thanks to our teachers, our staff, Mike Dwyer, our athletic director, Brian Lester, our activities director, our assistant principals, those who are in those events and really knee deep with them. Carrie and I are so happy and proud to be there and to see the joy from our students and our families. But we need to thank our district office and you as a Board of Education for allowing us to do that. We go back 2 years. We know this journey that we've been through COVID, and even at the very beginning, we were always trying to find a way that we could have an opportunity for our student athletes, for those in activities, for our families, and do it the safest way possible. There was always a path to try to have it, so we thank you for that. The student behavior report that you saw outlined by Assistant Principal Matt Bartley, besides the usual minor incidents that tend to be the norm, he also highlighted 2 areas that we are working on collectively as a staff. Our Dean's office looking at some of the cuts that take place during Compass. This first year of Compass has been a great success. We are taking a lot of feedback from our staff for what was good, what can be better. We're also getting feedback from our students this Friday, the last Homeport day. We're going to ask them to reflect and give us feedback on Compass so we can try to make it even better for next year. But one area that we can improve upon is managing the attendance during Compass, so we're going to continue to work to be better with that. And then also as Mr. Bartley outlined, talked a little bit about the little bit of increase of vaping that we're seeing in bathroom supervision adjustments that have been made. Our teachers have been a great support in helping with bathroom supervision during passing periods, and of course our deans assistants, guidance office staff as well. So those will be things that we will continue to look at and continue to improve upon for next school year. The attendance summary you can see there remains strong at 95%. There is also a overnight request for next school year in January of 23 from Dr. Laura Gilbert there, our director for the Porter Players Drama Club, the Illinois High School Music Festival. And the last thing that I wanted to mention on behalf of Carrie and myself is we want to give a big thank you to Karen Cooper for her leadership the last 4 years. She has been a tremendous person to work with. When issues come up, I've always felt we've had a great collaboration and communication with Karen and with Sonia Jackson, and we really do welcome Katie Kishline as well and Angie Pompilio as we look forward to working with them in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Well, as you saw, they mentioned the overnight field trip with the Porter Players Drama Club that's there for next year. And you can see the maintenance report.
And once again, Bill Thompson and his staff very busy. Two headlines, fire suppression and airflow, seemingly unimportant, but 400 devices in our district that participate in some way or connected to some fire control access panel. They've got to be checked. They have to be top notch. That's an investment that has prevented a major fire in America in a school since the Holy Angels fire in the late 1950s. So we're grateful for that and for that really hard work. The CO2 sensors are to make sure there's appropriate airflow. And obviously the COVID crisis has really brought us to that. Tough spring for our grounds crew. They've done a phenomenal job. They have had to do everything from our usual grounds to figuring out ways that you can have contests when it's rainy, it's terrible out, and it's just been really difficult. But they've really helped in all of our fields. Things move on, and we've kind of gotten a reputation around here for you can play on our fields. They're that well maintained and they're that well drained. You can see some major improvements, condensing boiler at East Campus, auditorium aisle lights, we'll be doing more and more in the auditorium. And some pretty neat and thoughtful landscape improvements. You just kind of look outside right over here. If you were going to the stadium, really nice improvement that was just made to line the stairways walking up, to door 53. So as always, lots going on. Mr. Thompson's here for any questions you might have, but busy, busy, busy. And their most busy time is coming up in the summer.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
All right. Next, we're moving on to our consent agenda items. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items number 2 to number 10?
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned by Dr. Shawn, second by Mr. Travis. Are there any questions? All right, hearing none, roll call.
Navarro,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Lewandowski,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Lopez Caniva.
Yes. Okay, next we're moving on to our
I
action.
do have one question.
I'm sorry?
I have one question.
Sure.
This goes to, here, about Fresh Start. Fresh Start. How many freshmen we got coming in this year?
Probably about 950, and we actually, Fresh Start is full at 350, and we do have a waiting list already.
Okay, so we only allow for a third of them to come through Fresh Start?
Yes, well, we give it a deadline, because we do have to do the hiring. And we want to make sure to maintain the integrity of the program and the experience. So we want to keep less than 25 kids in each classroom. So we've already done the hiring. We've actually added to Fresh Start this year. We added a Fresh Start Plus. And so we asked each feeder school to give us 5 students who would benefit from a little extra connection time. So 2 days a week, we're proposing to keep the kids 2 extra hours. We're going to feed them lunch and do a little extension connection with some of our students and our best and brightest staff members to kind of hook them in and connect them before they get here. Right now, I will tell you this, we are making personal phone calls to all of these students, and we're having a hard time getting the Fresh Start Plus piece up and going, but we're working diligently on that. But yes, 350 students.
Okay. Are we, and maybe that's what the plus is, kids that are gonna be below level coming in?
Yes.
Are that the ones in the Fresh Start Plus?
Yes, so we asked for those kids, yes, and it is a voluntary program.
Okay.
So we're even dangling the carrot that they don't have to pay for Fresh Start or Fresh Start Plus if they will just come.
Okay,
So we're trying our best to get them there.
okay. You know, it's always my first.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, thank you. All right. All right, do I have a motion to approve the floor abatement project at Central Campus?
That's remodeling the floors, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we talked about.
Yep.
Okay.
It's kind of a continuation of a project the board's already approved through the other section of that main hallway. This is central.
I move to approve the action consideration for the abatement project.
All right, and I'll second that. All right, roll call.
Shaw,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Navarro,
Yes.
Lewandowski,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Lopez Caniva.
Yes. All right, next do I have a motion to approve the bus driver salary schedule and fringe benefit updates for the 2022-2023 fiscal year?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, it's been motioned by Dr. Shaw and seconded by, is it Mr. Lewandowski? Yes. All right. Are there any questions to it? Hearing none, roll call.
Travis,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Lewandowski,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Navarro,
Yes.
Lopez Caniva.
Yes. All right, next is policy 108 updates.
All right, I think Mr. Dustoff will help me. There's an attachment there. I believe if you look down, it says Group 3 PDF. This is the final set of policies from Press 108. And just when we thought we were done, we got Press 109 about 2 weeks ago. So these are very custodial policy updates. I'm going to move through them relatively quick because they're small and simple changes. This first one is just qualifications term of duties board of and officers. In essence, that criminal history is required of me as well. That the superintendent, should be completed, background check, fingerprinting. Obviously, we already do that, but an important thing to do for all employees. And again, we're first reading tonight, not voting on these at all. Policy 2:120 is for you. You know that there is a panel of professional development that you're required to participate. There is a new panel for you, and that is trauma-informed practices for students and staff. What should school districts do for not only students but staff that come from trauma and might be traumatized by something in their lives or even something that happens at school? That can range from violence to poverty to other forms of personal and psychological trauma. That would be fall 2023 when that requirement for that training. Look for III in 2023 to have plenty of trauma-informed training for board members. 2:220, it's a school board meeting procedure. It basically, it's a change in language that every 6 months or as soon as practical, you will review your closed session. We just did this in January. And you will decide either to destroy your closed session records or release certain closed session records. As you did in January, you have to do that in public to make that decision. It's a slight change in language. I'm sorry, Mr. Navarro.
Is the confidential information still, is it edited so that we don't release confidential information, or do we release it as a whole?
We're not gonna release any of it.
Well,
Yeah,
if you were to choose to release it.
If you were
No,
to,
we're not.
yeah, if you were to choose to release it, you would have to release it as it is. You can't excise it or document it. And the board can say we're not going to release, as Mr. Lewandowski said, we're going to destroy these confidential records. But you have to do that every 6 months on this policy change. So. 4:110. This is basically, it comes under transportation, but creating a liaison for any student who's in the legal custody of the state of Illinois. So basically anyone who's a ward of the state, that we would have someone on our staff who is a liaison specifically for that student. So you might know this, we have a social worker, we have something called McKinney-Vento. We have to have a liaison for homeless students. This is also creating a liaison. It comes under transportation because oftentimes transportation is one of the biggest issues for students who are homeless or a ward of the state. So we have to also, for someone who's a ward of the state, name a specific liaison on staff. That's typically a social worker. I'd work with Dr. Huntington on that. 4:160 is an environmental control. In essence, huge restrictions on pesticides and any kind of coal tar based sealants. We have to notify parents and employees if we're using any of these, especially the coal tar sealants, which have been carcinogenic. 4:60, this is purchasing and contracts. It also, if we're purchasing coal tar sealants or any coal tar based application, mainly for surfacing, we have to disclose that to our public, that we're doing that. If we resurface a lot out here and we use a coal tar based product, we have to inform our staff, we have to inform our parents and the public of that. We don't use, to the best of my knowledge, Mr. Thompson, any coal tar products. 6:180, extended instruction. This allows the district to fashion any kind of anti-bias education or any intergroup resolution. You've heard about restorative practices. We have anti-bias groups like Student Equity Action, like Best Buddies. So this allows the district to create any kind of activities or educational events that we might want. And again, this is always up to the board and our leadership to decide what those might be. 6:20, this is just a school year calendar and day act. This was updated to add legal reference. State Commemorative Dates Act. The State Commemorative Dates Act has been updated, adding, for example, Juneteenth, and adding, for example, midterm and federal elections as holidays. So that's just us accepting that as part of our calendaring process. Bring your own technology. This policy, if we were a bring your own technology school, we do allow certain cell phone usage, but we provide a Chromebook. We would have to comply with all of these employee ethics, conduct, use of educational technologies that you've already approved in other policies, especially student data privacy and security. So if a student comes, uses a cell phone, we say bring your own technology in a classroom, uses that for an activity in a classroom. The applications that they're using, Kahoot, for example, has to follow SOPA, which is Student Data and Privacy. We have to ensure that as well. So basically, if you're even using your own technology here for classroom purposes, it's private and secure.
Can you re-explain that?
Yeah, we have there's an act called SOPA, Student Online Privacy Protection Act. And so all of our providers, Infinite Campus, all of the technologies that we use, had to assure us that they would not allow data breaches.
So we wouldn't be able to like look at student phones and stuff like that?
No, we're not looking at students' phone, but we're protecting a student. Let's say a student goes on in school and uses the Infinite Campus app. That provider has to assure, we have to make sure that even though this is their own technology, if they're using an app that we provided them, that their information is protected, that Infinite Campus has the systems to protect their personal identifiable information.
So nobody else but Infinite Campus would know that their phone is that.
Right, they can't release that information, and they have to protect that information, from hacking, cyber attack. They have to assure us that they've got those in place. 6:50, this is school wellness. In essence, what this is that if we participate in the USDA lunch program, which we do, we have to have a food, if we have food overage, what do we do with that food? How do we dispose of that food? Where does that food go? We have to have a food sharing plan if we are involved in that. 7:150 is agency and police interview. This is updated to change, just include the school counselor as someone who can be present in a agency or police interview. Students under the age of 18 have to have a school official present. It includes a school counselor as someone who could be present in an interview of a student by the police on premises. 6:160, prohibits any kind of policy that prohibits hairstyles that are historically associated with race or ethnicity. This came out of a case where a young African-American student who was wrestling and had braids was asked to shave those braids off before he wrestled. And so we cannot do that. He actually had a protective device that he was planning on wearing. He had wrestled successfully before. So we cannot create any kind of discipline policy that prohibits that. 7:200, this updates in terms of suspension, just a language change. Instead of Department of Human Services in Illinois, local mental health agency. It's just a change in language. And then finally, a couple final ones, 7:210 has that same update in language. And then a final one, 7:60 residency. There are several laws in the state of Illinois that allow military families certain rights. This policy allows military personnel could enroll a student in our school, and that student would have to be a resident within 6 months, not immediately. And that really honors the fact that military families are oftentimes moving, shifting, and so allows a child to enroll, although the family might not have a permanent residence in our district until 6 months out. We'd have to verify that. Any questions on these? A lot of house cleaning on these. Okay, that is your first reading. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jump right into announcements.
Jump into right announcements.
I just want to thank you all again for your support.
Yeah, you bet. And just a few announcements here at the back end of your agenda. Lots going on. I always encourage you to be there.
About you.
Yeah, you bet, Mr. Lewandowski. It's a very tough time. And this will always be in my updates too.
Motion to adjourn.
That's right. I have a motion to adjourn. That's fine.
Don't
Can I
you
look
know?
at the announcements again?
It's right there.
It's just right in the agenda. Yeah.
And who
Good night,
seconded it?
everyone.
Take care. Okay.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
the meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're right there.